Hello, this is Steve Thoele, Principal Broker with Premier Property Group, and bringing you another weekly update on the Wilsonville, Oregon real estate market. This update is going to cover the last 8 weeks of market activity, ending this past Sunday, September 11th. So I'm going to share my screen with you now, as I always do here, and go through the data with you. First off, we'll look at active listing activity. Last week in Wilsonville, I show we had 6 new properties come on the market. You can kind of see it's certainly within the range of where it's been over the past 8 weeks. Or the past few weeks here, it's certainly been lower than what it was here, over a month ago. So less new properties kind of coming on the market on a weekly basis. Ended the week with 49 homes in active status in Wilsonville. That's unchanged from the week prior. Median list price, days on market for the active listings. You can kind of see we had a high of 730 8 weeks back, dipped down to about 675, and then has been kind of steadily climbing back from there. This last week came in at 725 for the median price. And days on market, you can kind of see had a low of 17 here about a little over a month ago, and has been climbing up from there. This last week, the number was 32 days of average market time for these 49 active listings. So, homes are definitely hanging on the market a little longer than what we've experienced here in the recent past. Moving along to the pending sales. This last week, super slow week for pending. So there was only 2 pendings I show in Wilsonville this last week. Certainly a low for the 8 weeks. Down from eight the week prior, and ended the week with 49 homes in pending status. That's down from 55 the week prior, but not quite a low for the 8 weeks here. So kind of within the range. Median price in the days on market for those pendings, that's been kind of steadily kind of dropping here a bit over this past month. Had a high of 771 here about 6 weeks back, and this last week came in at 655,000, so down about 14,000 from the prior week. And days on market, you can see we had a low of 14, it jumped up to 28 here for a couple weeks, 6-7 weeks ago, and has been dropping back from there. This last week it came in at 18, was the average time for a home to get into contract in Wilsonville. And then finally, we'll look at sold listing activity. So as of the time I put the info together, I show we had 8 properties crossover from pending to sold this last week in Wilsonville. You can kind of see how that compares to weeks prior. It's kind of, towards the upper end of the range over the 8 weeks and up from the week prior. And when I look back over the prior month or last 4 weeks of activity on a kind of a rolling basis here, this last week came in at 29 homes have closed over the prior 4 weeks, and that's up a couple from the prior week. And hasn't moved a whole lot here over this past month. So been pretty steady in terms of sold listings. Median price and days on market for the solds, that has been in general kind of increasing, as you can kind of see here. Had a low of 585 for a couple weeks, and then I got up to 710 2 weeks ago. Last week dropped back a bit to 685,000 was the median sold price for these 29 sold listings over the past 4 weeks. And then days on market, that certainly has been increasing quite a bit. You can see we were, for a long time under a week of market time for the sold listings. And as time's kind of going on here, we're seeing that, things are definitely taking longer to go pending and get sold ultimately. So that's raised this number quite considerably over those past couple of weeks. And then last thing we'll look at is the weeks of inventory and the sale price as a percent of the original list price. Red bars is that weeks of inventory available, and you can kind of see we had a high of about 10 weeks of inventory towards the beginning of the period, and from there it's been floating between close to 6 to 7 weeks of inventory over this past 6 weeks or so now. Hasn't moved a whole lot. So this last week's reading was just under 7 weeks of inventory. The sale price as a percent of the list price, that has been coming down. As I mentioned a few weeks ago now, this number is kind of, I would say, being skewed downward by a few properties that sold significantly under the asking price. So that's dragging this average down. If you threw those few homes out, it certainly would be higher. It'd be closer to, between 98, 99% of list for the homes, for all the other homes in Wilsonville. So, but this trend of starting to have pressure on prices, we will continue to see this, and I think we'll see this number definitely kind of stay under full asking price, I would imagine, as we're moving forward here. So with 6 to 7 weeks of inventory and prices in general holding fairly steady, definitely kind of continues to be a seller's market environment, and it's definitely moderating and cooling, but certainly it's advantage kind of remains with seller in general. So hope this new weekly update has been helpful to you. If so, always appreciate any likes, comments, shares that you have. If you already haven't and you're watching this on YouTube, I really invite you to click that subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. It's a great way for you to follow along on a weekly basis what's happening in your local real estate market. So I can be reached at 503-680-2065. Feel free to reach out anytime. Happy to talk about what's happening in the market or something in your particular situation that I could be of help with. And as always, I really appreciate you watching, following along, and hope you have an awesome day and week ahead. Thanks a lot.